Well, no, I'm not.
All right, wrestling fans, Utah wrestling fans, Kurt Clapier here with another Utah Wrestling podcast brought to you by highschoolwrestlingmatches.com and in conjunction with USA Utah Wrestling. We got a great show tonight. We're going to talk about some new things that are in development. We have a new developmental coach on the line that's been hired by USA Utah. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And but before we do, I just want to make you guys aware, if there are any live listeners tonight, there was a confusion about the time. So I don't know how many live listeners we're going to get because of that. But from now on, the new standard time for the Utah podcast will be 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights. That may change sometimes during the season. If we podcast from an actual event or from a dual meet, things like that, then that time might vary a little bit. But for now, plan on 8 o'clock every Wednesday night, and we'll stick with that for the time being. But if you are listening live, we have a couple ways for you to ask questions tonight, because I know a lot of questions are going to come up as you listen to this podcast. So there's 3 ways for you to ask questions. If you're watching on highschoolwrestlingmatches.com, let me share my screen real quick. All right. 1 second. Okay. All right. If you are watching on highschoolwrestlingmatches.com, at the bottom of the page, you can leave a comment, and I'll be able to see those, and I'll feed those questions to our guests. Another way is on Twitter. If you click up here, right here on the Twitter link, it will take you to our Twitter feed, and you can tweet us any questions. And then the third and possibly the easiest way for you old people out there is to send us a text. So that's what this number right here is. If you text that, 857-240-8516. Again, that's 857-240-8516. If you'll text that number, I'll get your questions and I'll read those to our guests. Unless it's something we don't want to talk about, then we'll just ignore your question. But please send them anyways.
He's talking about us there, Brian. Old guys.
Yeah, don't even get out. Hey,
yeah, so Brian, you don't have to tweet. You can just text.
I mean, I'm not that totally ugly, am I? Come on. Put my little picture up there. Jeez. I came out of the dark and everything for this.
Hey, that's not us, Brian. That's you running your own technology. We had nothing to do with that. Yep.
Okay. Sorry, my bad. There I am. Jade, I am as ugly as advertised.
There he is. So one last thing I want to point out to you guys. On highschoolwrestlingmatches.com, we actually now have it set up. We're working on setting it up so you guys can have a team website on there, but that probably won't happen for this season. But we do have it set up where you could podcast your live events, and we'd love to have you do that. So you can literally podcast or stream, I should say. It's probably a better term. Your home meets with nothing more than a smartphone. And if you want to get fancy, you could have a computer and a smartphone. Then you could have a little commentary going on. We've got some guys in Florida that are going to be doing that with their team, and I'd love to see some of the Utah crowd doing that this year. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me on highschoolwrestlingmatches.com or on Facebook, or send a text to this number here on the screen, and I'll get you set up with that. And we'll handle the technical side. All you have to do is push play and make sure you don't swear on camera. So, all right, we're going to jump in now. We got Craig Lamont on the line. How you doing, Craig?
Doing great tonight. Thank you, Kurt.
And sitting next to Craig is Jade Rauser. If you don't know who Jade is, then you haven't been following or UVU wrestling for the last few years. He's been the face of UVU probably since Ben Kerr left. Somewhere around that time is when he kind of started showing his stardom. And I'm gonna let Craig go over his accolades, but because I'll probably miss something. But I do know that he is our second All-American from UVU, second of many. And so, Craig, go ahead and introduce us to Jade and tell us why we've got him on the call today.
So, yeah, Jade is going back to high school years. He was actually undefeated for 4 years in high school, I think, right?
Yep.
4-time Montana state champion. I remember watching him when I was a little bit younger of a coach. Phenomenal athlete. And I think did you compete for Team Utah your last year in Fargo?
Nope, that was Val.
That was your brother, wasn't it? So it was Val who had actually moved down here. But
I actually remember watching those matches on was it Track or Flow? Whoever was broadcasting them. I remember watching your brother. I actually thought of you too.
Yeah. So anyway, he's wrestled here at Utah Valley for the last 5 years. And this last season, he was ranked all year long and made the qualifications, and then had a couple of phenomenal matches. Actually, his junior year, I thought maybe even was a better tournament. Ended up breaking his elbow in a match against in the placement match. The guy ended up going to the finals, and he lost. Or did he take third? Took third. Yeah. Anyway, went in that match till he broke his elbow and finished it out without quitting. But AJ Shop, is that
AJ
match?
Shop, yeah.
Anyway, had a great season his junior year, and then a phenomenal season his senior year. Come from behind win. I was sitting about 3 rows up right over that match, and was yelling so loud that I got dizzy and almost passed out. It would have been an injury in one of those ambulances. But anyway, a lot of fun to watch. Very powerful, very dominant on top, and explosive. So he's become a part of USA Utah now officially. He's our first officially full-time coach. We call it the Utah Development Coach. And his job is to develop athletes from age 3 all the way through the college guys, and to unify our state, hopefully to grow membership through outreach. And one of the main goals of his job is to visit every high school and every club, and hopefully every junior high program in the state in a 52-week span, and do at least one practice. He's in charge of our national team's practices, and he'll be the head coach of every traveling national team from our state going forward. So big role. There's a bunch of other stuff in his job description too, but those are kind of the main roles. And we're really excited for him because he's excited to do this. So the last thing I wanted to say was, before we actually did the interviews and we started hiring, and there were some really quality coaches, especially in that final round. But I go back to just watching him coach youth, some junior high, some little kids. Recently, these past few months post NCAA championships, and the demeanor and how well he connects with those kids was just super impressive. I've been watching coaches coach a long time, and to have a guy who's fresh out of college, All-American status, be able to then immediately connect just beautifully with these young wrestlers is fun to watch. So we're really excited about him and his progress, and we're shipping him off to get Silver College trained in Colorado Springs. What, a couple of weeks?
October 13th.
Yeah, about two and a half weeks.
And what does that mean to be Silver College trained?
Okay, so you've got similar to soccer and other sports, you have different levels. You have copper level and bronze level, and you have silver level. And when you get to be the silver level as a coach, then you also can apply to get into the pools and start being asked to coach internationally and things like that. But it's just the next level up in coaching, and it's quite an ordeal to get it. And very few coaches have actually achieved that from our state, but there are some good ones out there that have. And Davey Swenson, Brock Moore, I think there are a few that have that silver level.
Cool, that's awesome.
Congratulations, Jade, on being an All-American and so forth. Just before we kind of get into the developmental coach side of things, I'd be just curious how it feels to be an All-American. I think Ben was the very first All-American, but you were I think the first one to completely go through the program, from freshman through senior. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Feels good.
and that is kind of special. And so, tell us a little bit about what that was like, and representing the Wolverines.
Well, it's always been my goal since I was a little kid to be at the national tournament and to go 4 years. Well, the first 3 years and go and not place was really hard, and then just gave me the extra motivation to go in my senior year, like knowing this is my last time, this is my last shot to do it. And so, to finally get that All-American was unbelievable. After the match, I was so excited I didn't even know if it was real. It was awesome.
And tell us, how did you end up down here at UVU? What's the story behind that? Obviously you prepped in Montana, and
actually, it's a funny story because when I was first getting recruited by UVU, I had no clue who they were. I was like, UVU? I'm not coming to UVU. Who's UVU? Never even heard of them. And then Erkeen and Greg and Casey Rock at the time, they kept emailing and calling, and they came down for an unofficial visit, and they brought us down here for an official visit, and we loved it. It was just like Montana. There's mountains, there's lakes, there's stream, hunting, fishing. The guys were awesome. It just, the atmosphere was just like home. It's like we're pretty much back home. So, it was awesome. Even though it wasn't a big program for wrestling yet, we knew that it wouldn't change how we wrestled. So, cool. It's always, now it's my new home. I love it here.
That's cool. Well, we're glad you chose it. And I have a question about about your job, but I want to just point out again to our listeners, if you came in late, you can text your questions to us at 857-240-8516. Shoot us a text. Again, that's 857-240-8516, and we will do our best to answer your questions. But you mentioned, Craig, that he'll be running the national team practices, and I got an email from you, Jade, recently saying that you were looking for locations for the national team practice. Explain to us, first off, what is the national team practice this time of year? Who is the national team this time of year?
Who is the national team? So it can go from all ages right now. Okay, and it's all ages, boys and girls. They can come to these national practices, and we'll work on certain things. And I'm still kind of working on the curriculum right now, but it's things that Utah needs to work on. So, for freestyle and Greco season, we're going to be working on a lot of parterre position, a lot of finishes off single or their shots. So right now I sent out an email to all the coaches saying that national team practices I'd like to host, anywhere at the high school. But I realized that I didn't know what contacts were until today. And so we're trying to figure out a different way we can host national team practices at a high school. So if I host it at one right now, then only that team can practice.
I think you're okay this time of year, though, are you not, Cole? You're probably the expert on that.
Yeah, you can. Right now in the fall season.
Yeah.
It's not going to impact it, but when the official start date of high school wrestling is that first week in November.
Yeah.
After that start date, then you start to run into contacts. Yeah.
Yeah. So I already sent out the emails for national team practices. Will be at UVU for the whole month of October, just on Wednesdays from 6:30 to 8. So
now, do they have to have actually made a national team at some level?
No, this is just a build up to a national team. So, as we're practicing throughout the year and we're putting dual teams together, I'll be picking kids and watching them in the practice room. And then I'll talk to them. I'm like, I want you on this team. But I still want other people to come. It's still an extra practice to get better throughout the year.
So basically at this point in the year, later on in the year, the national team practices will be for those who have made the national teams. But since we haven't had any tryouts yet, The idea is, number one requirement, you want to make them a national team. If you want to make one, then show up to practice. Okay. And we're going to be working on the type of stuff that we need to be unified as a state, and having everybody kind of know those same technical basics, so that when Jade's coaching them 7 months from now, that we won't have to start fresh on the camp the week before the event, right? And the only other requirement, at this point would be to, be a USA member, right? So
as long as you're a USA a member, you can show up to these practices.
Yeah.
For October at least.
Yeah, for right now.
Okay, cool. And I didn't see a follow-up email with those times. Have you sent that out yet? Practice times and stuff?
Yeah, so those practice times are on the website for wrestleutah.com. You just go to national teams and then national team practice. And all the information is on there. So we'll have practices Wednesdays from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m.
And tell us a little bit about this outreach thing, Jade, or Craig, where you're going to try to get out to all the different programs across the state. I think this is great. I know we do really well with the elite wrestlers, but I think for the health of the entire sport across the board, I think this is a great idea to reach out across the state a little bit. So, talk about your goals there with this position. It sounds like you're going to be visiting a lot of high schools and be driving around a lot.
I'm going to let Jade practice answering this, because as his boss, I want to know what he says, and then I'll fill in at the end if he misses something. How's that? Go ahead, Jade. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start calling coaches. I've already sent an email out to the coaches and asked them, I'm here. My job is to come to you guys if whatever you need. I can run a camp. I can run clinics. I can run a practice. I can talk to kids. I can talk to parents. So what my plan is I'm going to try to spread it out all through Utah. So I'm going to go to the south. I'm going to visit the high schools down there. I'm going to go to the north, visit the high schools up there. And I feel like that's where a lot of my outreach is going to have to go, just because, there's a lot of wrestlers here in the Central Valley. So if I feel like the more I kind of visit down south and up north, the better we're going to get as a team.
Come visit West Valley. We need a visit from you at some point.
Well, and west and east, so yeah.
Sounds good.
Across the Wasatch Front. We got to help Jade with his Utah lingo, I guess. Right?
No, sounds awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, so it's just whatever I can do to help any high school club, junior high. That's what I'm here for. If they need me over there this day, I can be over there that day. The
idea is that Jade's going to come in. At least this is his instruction, right? He's going to come in to a coach and offer his services, right? He's going to say, Coach, what would you like me to teach? Or are you struggling in the area? Or would you just like me to show?
I'd rather not say, Craig.
Or would you rather?
Neither would I. I'd rather not say Craig as well.
I don't know what's up with this new phone, but I got my new phone today and I don't know how to run it. Anyway.
I love you, Craig.
So the idea is that we don't want Jade to come into a high school room or to a junior high room and make the coach feel like he doesn't know what he's doing or be correcting those coaches, but instead to come in and support. And hopefully the coaches will be open to him showing the fundamentals that he wants to develop from all the way from Rich County all the way down to Washington County, right? And from east to west, clear out to West Desert, right? And it's the idea isn't just to get in the room and technically teach those kids and inspire them and to bond with them, but the idea is to earn the trust of all these coaches, so that it's not an abrasive thing and it's not a I know better than you thing. It's a I want to support you and I want to help your athletes. So that's the vision that he's been given, and I think he'll do a great job of that. I've never known him to be abrasive unless he's wrestling somebody from Iowa or something, right?
Yeah.
Gets pretty abrasive there.
No, it's a great opportunity, and I think most coaches will see it as that. I think very few, if any, will feel threatened by that. That's a great opportunity. Thanks for providing that. What other questions did you have about the program, Brian, about the development coach?
Well, I mean, it sounds like you're going to actually go in and support and edify the coaches and stuff like that. Sounds like if I get this right, there's going to be some outreach. You could even maybe talk to parents about what it takes to be a college recruiter, how to be a good parent. It sounds like you're going to not just technique and stuff, but there could be other things involved. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'll be talking to parents too, and a lot of my thing too is going to be building memberships, and there's a lot of advantages to build into those USA memberships. A lot of those parents don't know that. I mean, I think it's the $15 card, just folk style.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you get the $15 card, you can only wrestle folk style, and you have to keep buying the cards. I mean, a lot of parents only buy those. So yeah, I'll be talking to a lot of parents. I'm going to kind of talk to their kids. If they ever need any advice from me for cutting weight, practice, like what does he need to, times should he go to sleep? I mean, it's kind of just simple things, anything that I can do to help the kid in the club or the team or the parents. I mean, that's kind of what I'm here for.
I have a question about that $15 card. If somebody buys that and then wants to do the freestyle season, is it $40 again, or do they pay the difference?
I'm not really sure on that one.
Ask that question one more time.
Let's say a kid just does folk style, buys the $15 membership, and then spring rolls around. They're like, you know what? I do want to do freestyle. Can they pay the difference, or do they need to buy a whole new card?
They just need to pay.
Have to pay the difference. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not even like a $25 service fee or 25-cent service fee. It's literally the exact difference.
Okay, cool.
They go from 15 to 45. So
I just asked because for the first time I'm going to be running a youth club during the folk style season, during the winter season, and I know a lot of the kids are new to it, so they're going to want to just do the $15 deal.
Yeah,
their parents will, and then I see some of them will probably get the passion and then want to upgrade. So
there are so many behind the scenes benefits to that membership that a lot of people don't know, especially if they haven't. You get the Win magazine, you get emails. You're in today's day and age with social media, and those little kids, junior high kids, the high school kids who have never been a full member, all of a sudden they're a full member, and now they're connected to the wrestling world, right? They're getting emails, and they're getting things in the mail, and they're getting magazines that they can read and get excited about. And so, besides the fact that the insurance is better and you can wrestle year round and it covers you and practice and everything else, right? Those limited folk style memberships have they're also limited benefits. And so, yeah, so even on the front end, if you want to encourage them, most people don't look back. They don't regret it.
Right. Yeah. So as a coach, it's in our best interest to push that, because then they're tied into the culture.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. This question could be for Cole, Craig, or Jade. You talked about social media. How do you see, or what's going on with USA Wrestling Utah using social media as part of this outreach and to get the word out?
Well, I mean, I'm still kind of learning about the social media, but what I'm gonna try to plan on doing is whenever I see a wrestling video that I like, some technique, or a wrestling article that I like, I'm gonna try to post it on Facebook with the USA Wrestling or the USA Utah Wrestling page, and then I'll share it from my page, and just, I guess, any information that I can get from wrestling memberships or articles, just anything, just kind of post it on there. If Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, there's so many social media things out there now that you can post it to a lot of things.
See,
Cool.
Jade's just been wrestling the last 5 years, and he's had a steady girlfriend. So, there's really no need for him to know it until now.
So he just discovered Facebook, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
That's good. That's good. That means you have a life.
Dump your girlfriend and focus in on your new job.
Yeah.
Or marry your girlfriend and then focus on your new job.
Make part of your new job. There you go.
Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure.
Anyways, I've got one last question, but before I go to that, I want to just again tell any of our listeners, because we do have some listening live right now, if you have any questions before we wrap up this call, text them to 857-240-8516. Again, text them to 857-240-8516. And I'm going, before I ask my last question, and maybe you'll answer it before I get to it, I'm going to give Brian and Cole one chance to ask a question or make a comment. And then if we leave anything out, actually, then I'll ask my question. And then Craig and Jade, if we leave anything out, go ahead and fill us in at that point. Okay. Brian, any questions or comments?
I was going to defer to Cole. He's been kind of quiet tonight.
Cole, he's deferred to you.
All right. Well, the question, Jade, why don't you tell us what your goals are in this position? What do you see down the road this position achieving for Utah wrestling?
I mean, the goal is to just get the state unified as a whole, for me at least. And I feel like if everybody's on the same page of what we need to do for the state, certain type of techniques, what we need to go, where we need to go for tournaments, what we need to do for tournaments. I mean, just to bring everybody together and focus on new techniques, focus on basic technique. I have a lot of good stuff that I think I could teach the state. But my vision is just to grow wrestlers, and not just grow them into wrestlers, but grow them into like nice people. I mean, just grow their personality. I mean, wrestlers are such a different breed compared to other athletes. We have so many different characteristics that are so good for you when you're older. I mean, we build character. I mean, that's a big part of my job, is building character for kids. So, I mean, as long as we're together as a state, I feel like it's just going to kind of fall into place of how it's starting to look.
Jade, as I listened to that answer, I had a thought. I don't know how familiar you are with Granger Wrestling, but we're a developing program. I'm the head coach there. And I would love to see, as this develops and you develop a curriculum, I assume other coaches would use this as well. I'd love to see, you mentioned getting the state where we're all on the same level, so to speak. We're all teaching the same things. We're teaching the kids what they need to know to be competitive at the national level. I assume that's what you meant by that. Yeah. I'd love to see some kind of a curriculum outline, maybe even some videos along with it over time, but some kind of a curriculum outline that I can kind of use as a reference and kind of compare, you know what, my junior high kids need to be here according to the state's curriculum, and we're here. And it kind of gives me a roadmap, so to speak, to get there. That'd be useful. That's something that I would use, and I think other coaches in my position would use as well.
Yeah, so my plan is, so I'm creating curriculum right now. And what my plan is, as I'm going to these high schools or I'm running clinics, is I'm going to film my stuff, and I'm hopefully going to post it on WrestleUtah.com. That way, if the coach needs to look for some technique, or I tell this kid, I'm like, hey, work on this, he can bring it back home, like, hey, mom, dad, I want to show you this. I need to start working on this. So my plan is to put my own technique videos up so people can look at them.
Awesome.
Sounds great. Just to kind of change gears, Jade, a little bit. Since, I imagine you were a 4-time state champion. Sounds like you went through unscathed there. All-American at UVU, all-conference, all these things. give us a couple attributes that you think it's necessary to reach that level as a wrestler.
Well, dedication, responsibility, and just hard work. I mean, if you don't have the dedication to be in the room every morning or every afternoon, the dedication to stay 5 minutes and work on something that you need to learn, it's going to be hard to reach that kind of achievements. And I mean, this last year especially, I worked a lot on certain things to reach my goal. I was really bad. I won't say really bad, but I wasn't very good at bottom my first couple years, and then last year, my junior year, I was really good. A lot of people couldn't hold me down. So I mean, if I'm dedicated to what I need to do, then that's going to keep me at the top level and hold myself accountable for things like cutting weight. My first couple years, I didn't cut weight right. I hated it. And so, I mean, moving up a weight class, I really focused on what I needed to eat, even though I wasn't cutting that much. So, I mean, I just held myself accountable for my actions. I was responsible. I mean, I got better grades in school, which also helped my wrestling because I wasn't stressing out about school. So, I mean, yeah.
Awesome.
Jade, I know coming up, for example, and this is maybe the type of thing that might help you explain to our audience some of the things that you'll be doing. But tell us about the Idaho duels and what's going on with that.
Okay, so the Idaho duels, it's the Upper Valley Aces duels, and it's an elementary team. So what we sent out to the parents is all the information for wrestle-offs. So I've contacted parents and kids for the wrestle-offs, and that we're going to start this week, Saturday, October 1st. And I think it's for 40, 45, and 49. But it's all on WrestleUtah.com. If you go to national teams and then go to the Upper Valley Aces duels, it has all the information you can need. So I'm creating the team. Yeah, it's right there. That's the national team. Yeah, so USA Utah, we've covered the entry fee for our team, so the kids don't have to worry about that. It starts November 11th through the 12th. So we'll have wrestle-offs on October 1st, October 5th, October 12th, and I think October 19th, I think. I'm not really sure. But, yeah, pretty much all the information is on the website. Yeah, there it is right there. And it tells you which weight classes are going. There's all the kids right there that are wrestling off. So.
Okay, so if a kid wants to wrestle off, so let's say that my boy is a kid that I think can make that team and can wrestle at that level and make this team. What can he do? Tell us kind of how he would request a wrestle off.
So, I guess if he knew about the tournament, he could get a hold of me or Jeff. But what they would need to do is they would need to let us know at least 3 days before the wrestle offs. If it's 2 days before, we can't take any more. So that's what we're cutting it off at. So today would be the last day for this weekend at least. So if there are any kids out there that are listening, I guess that you guys can still request a wrestle off.
So Jade, are they breaking this down strictly by weight and not by age?
Yeah, so it's just by weight. So it's K through 6.
So if a fifth grader can make 40 pounds, you can wrestle 40 pounds?
Yep.
Okay.
It looks like the weight classes are listed on there, what days they're wrestling off and everything.
Can you scroll a little bit more so that everybody can see all of those weight classes? There we go, right there.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So those are all the kids right now. I'm still getting emails, and some of the kids are having to back out just because football and wrestle-off times didn't match. So, we're trying to make it to where everybody can try out Not everybody, but I mean,
So how many kids will make it? One kid per weight?
one kid per weight.
And when is the actual event?
It starts November
11th, 12.
Yeah.
Right here. Okay. And where in Idaho are we looking?
I think it's St. Anthony.
All right.
St.
That's
Anthony.
where I went to college.
Yeah, up there by Rexburg. One of the places I get turned around. I cannot tell direction there, but
Maybe I'll see if my 33-pound 5-year-old who hasn't entered a USA tournament yet can make it, so I can go up there.
I don't know why anybody would want to go up there other than to wrestle. So, okay.
Hey, it's awesome. All right.
I shouldn't say that. Okay, my bad.
Well, my last question was this, and you kind of touched on it with Cole's last question, but you mentioned national team duels, and I know every summer we've got the cadet and junior duels, but the way Craig mentioned it at the start, it kind of made me wonder, is there going to be more duels going on throughout the year? I asked that because you mentioned as you have these national team practices, you'll start kind of handpicking guys that you think should be on the national duel team. So
yeah, so I know there's another one right after Christmas, the Christmas Clash duels. That's one. There's schoolboy duels, cadet duels, junior duels, and there's also those Pocatello duels, right?
We have duels at
Yeah,
Pocatello,
Oklahoma.
We have a list of all the places that we're sending national teams this year, and that's increased. Like he's going to go down with the women's body bar, and we've got
Virginia Beach is also next month too.
We'd like to actually get. He'll be going back to the folk style nationals in Iowa. I'd like to get him back to cadet and junior world team trials. So he's going to have a busy schedule for sure, traveling. But as far as duels go, yeah, I guess the ultimate duels for the state, and what the reason why we're doing all these folk style duels and all these other duels throughout the year is to create a culture of traveling with the state, and you're representing our state, and getting to know Jade as the head coach, and getting excited about traveling and getting experience, because there's nothing quite like going to a dual meet tournament and just getting pounded. You know, when you're the hot shot in Utah, and then you end up going to some dual meet tournament in Minnesota or Oklahoma, and every bout you're just like, you know, trying not to get tech fault or whatever. I've seen it happen, you know, hundreds of times. So ultimately, you know, the schoolboy, cadet, and junior duels are his that's what he's building for. He gets bonuses if he does well there, and so we want to incentivize him to put together the best team. Now, he's mentioned 2 or 3 times that he's picking guys. Let me clarify that to make sure that there's not a misunderstanding. What Jade's going to be doing is he's going to be verbally recruiting wrestlers that in years past have not gone on these dual teams. Every year we have studs. We have guys that could make the difference, make or break our dual teams, and they're not involved. And nobody's been successful in getting them to come out. And so when he's saying, I'm going to pick him, he's going to pick the studs, right? He knows who the studs are. He's going to know the entire state, every tough kid's name, and he's going to be recruiting their parents and recruiting them for 11 months so that he can get them on that team. But when he says to actually pick him, ultimately he's not picking them. He's just getting them to the tryout, and the tryout is what picks them. And then every once in a while we'll have weights where there's no one going. You know, it seems like every year junior duels, you know, we're looking for a heavyweight, or we're looking for a 95 pounder, and we got a whole state full of studs and we can't fill one guy. So in those situations, he is actually picking them. But for the most part, most of these dual meets will be earned through a tryout and not handpicked by Jade. Jade's going to be handpicking the weights that don't show up to tryouts. And he's going to be handpicking the guys who show up to those tryouts that otherwise wouldn't in years past. And so I hope that's a little bit more of a clarification.
He's going to recruit and try to make the tryout more competitive.
Yeah, he's a recruiter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Now, did you mention that there's a duel happening during the high school season, a national level duel?
The duels that are going to be happening during the season would not be high school level dual meets. There's a Virginia tournament. It's not a state funded dual tournament, the Virginia tournament, but that's one where elementary and junior high kids can try out and attend that.
Yeah, I think it'd be against the rules for a high school tournament like that. It wasn't sanctioned by the NFHS or the UHSAA.
And let me just add on to what Craig was saying. One thing that we're trying to do the last couple of years with Travis, our new events coordinator. He's been with us now for a year. Jeff Newby started the event. Travis has picked up with it and is rolling with it. But we have the Clash duels here in Utah, and the Clash duels are actually happening this year in conjunction with the Salt Lake Slam. So those are two great events, and there's a lot of exchanges that are going on with that event. So, we're saying to Idaho, hey, we'll bring a team of Utah kids to the Upper Valley Aces duel. You bring a team down to Utah. And, when I started the Slam, when I started the Rumble, one of my goals and one of the things that I've always been trying to do is to bring national level kids to Utah, and by bringing national level kids to Utah, it elevates our level of wrestling. It allows us the opportunity for kids who may not be able to afford a lot of travel expenses to bring them into our backyard. But the beauty of where we're at in USA Utah wrestling is that we're creating more opportunities to travel out of the state. Not only are we creating more opportunities to travel, but they're also becoming more affordable as many of them are state funded.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's really some good stuff going on. I tell you, to me, Craig, Cole, USA Wrestling Utah has really turned the corner just last 5 years, 10 years. It's really gone up a notch as far as what's going on. It's real exciting to me.
Well,
to see.
Brian, one of the things, and I think we've certainly been able to be successful with running it as a business model. And Craig's got tremendous business background, tremendous business skills. But I've ran tournaments in Georgia, I've ran tournaments in Wisconsin, Washington, all over the country, and I'm telling you right now that what we're doing in the state of Utah is second to none. Wisconsin, and you look at the size of Wisconsin, they were a model state 10 years ago, and they were being held up as an organization that people should look at as a model of what states should be doing. And right now, I believe with the hire of Jade, I think that Utah surpasses Wisconsin in full-time employees. I think they have 3 full-time employees, and in Utah now we have 4 full-time employees, and that just creates a lot of synergy to grow our organization and to grow our sport.
Well, ultimately too, and I'm sure Jade will attest to this, is you see it with Jeff, is you're committed. When you're a full-time employee and you're on a payroll, there's expectations, right, Jade? Craig and Cole and Jeff are going to have expectations, and I think that just takes the level of work, level of commitment up a notch with that business model that you're talking about.
Well, and it's something that I love too, so it's a lot easier that way.
Well, you're getting paid. It's probably exciting for you and Jeff is to get paid doing something that you love, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, Craig and Jade, is there anything else that we should know that you want to cover before we hang up this call?
No, just you got that text number. Just I want to reiterate a couple of things. Number one, coaches, if you're listening, club coaches, junior high coaches, women's coaches, high school coaches. If you want a visit from Jade, just text him or call him, right? Like literally just get on the email, his phone number, it's all on the website. Get on there, contact him. Because that's his main job, is to go out and help you. So
it's WrestlingUtah.com, right?
Yep. Number 2 is, and this is something that hasn't been covered yet, but our board's goals, Cole and myself and everybody unanimously on our board, one of our main board goals is to create unity in our state. And we have tried over the last decade and even before, we've tried every possible thing we can do to unify the old traditionalists that don't like freestyle and Greco, or the traditionalists that only like Greco, or the traditionalists that just like Olympic sports and not. We don't want there to be fences in our state. We want people to be passionate about the sport and mutually supportive of all 3 styles. We want people to be passionate about the sport and mutually supportive of the Moabs and the Monticellos and the Panguiches and the West Deserts and wherever they are, right? We want there to be a unification between the Wasatch Front and rural Utah. We want there to be a unification around Utah Valley University. We want there to be a unification around everything. And so what Jade, again, I guess kind of the exclamation point here is, Jade is going to serve you no matter what you love. And he's not just going to try to recruit your kids to do Greco and freestyle if you're a folk style program. He's going to come in and serve your folk style program. And then hopefully on the side, your best wrestler will still want to wrestle Greco and freestyle, right? But it's not going to be if you're not going to do this, then I'm not coming, right? There are a couple of things in USA Wrestling Utah where we have an attitude. There are very few where we have an attitude that it's kind of members only. And then, but the biggest part of us want to serve, right? Utah High School Activity Association, they don't pay USA Wrestling at all. They don't bring us any income. They don't support us in any way. But I'll tell you what, we do a lot of stuff for the high school association, and we do it gratis, right? The same thing with Utah Valley, right? We serve Utah Valley University because they're the only college wrestling program in our state. We do a lot for rural Utah, even for the clubs that don't. We want to serve. We want to give. We want to make it awesome for the 3-year-old to the 25-year-old. We want to make it awesome for the coaches and for the parents and the fans. And Jade's responsibility is to make sure all that gets done. If not, we have to fire him, which we probably won't do.
Okay.
I think you got the right man for the job.
I do too.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for the call tonight. It's been a great one. And if you are listening to this, to the replay, and you want to text a question, you can still use this number on the screen, and I'll either answer it or I'll forward it on to Craig and Jade to answer it for you. So go ahead and contact us or contact Jade on the WrestlingUtah.com. Is it com or org? I always forget. It's com. WrestlingUtah.com, and you can contact him there. So, guys, if you've missed any of the Utah Wrestling podcasts, they are all archived on highschoolwrestlingmatches.com. At the top, you can click on podcasts, and then there's a drop down for the state of Utah, and click on it. It'll have all our past podcasts. We have another great show coming up next week with 4-time Utah State champ and NCAA finalist, I believe, twice, right? Andrew Hochstrasser, was he in the finals twice? Or was it a second and a third? I'm trying to remember.
I think it was in the finals once, took third.
One-time finalist.
Okay, it was a second and a third.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're going to have Andrew Hochstrasser on with a Boise State preview. This is something that Jeff lined up with Hochstrasser. And Levi Jones is our other guest next week. So tune in at 8 o'clock on Wednesday, and we'll have another, if I can talk, another great show for you. All right, that's it for tonight. And thanks for being on, Brian, Cole, Craig, and Jade. And we will talk to you all next time.
See you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.